Another evening of museum in Lotus back here. Different setting. I hope you can see what's going on. Last week it was Singapore's birthday. We had an earlier run because after that everyone had to go and watch the National Day Parade. But today is my birthday. Today is my birthday, yeah. So we have a cake here.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have a cake here. So thank you for watching. Today is my birthday, but Museum in Lotus must go on. But we can actually have a cake here. Shall we?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. How do you say, again, just for revision, how do you say happy birthday in Italian?
Buon compleanno, signor Khan. Buon compleanno.
Bon, that means it's good. Compleanno, that means it's completed years.
Yes.
Signor is Mr. Khan, of course, is my name. So it's Buon compleanno, Signor Khan.
Perfetto.
Perfecto, right? Yeah.
Perfetto.
Yeah, perhaps if you close the curtains and I speak in Italian, hopefully I'll pass off as a Italiano.
Why not?
Right, so today is it's my birthday, and Mr. Pino has most wonderfully, he said that let me bring you to Italy. So Mr. Pino is going to bring me to Italy today. I see friends here, Geraldine, Tong Chi Hong, right? Thank you very much for saying happy birthday here. Tonight we're jumping out of China. We're going for a break.
Yes.
We're jumping out of Southeast Asia. We're going for a break in Italy.
We're going to Italy.
Where, of course, Mr. Pino will be most familiar. So today he's going to be for sure he's going to be subject matter expert all along, but especially today because Italy.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
You know, most people when it comes to Italy, they might remember more about the food of Italy.
It's very well known, and in Singapore we have several good Italian restaurants. And if you have not tried one, I would suggest that you give it a try. Authentic Italian food is available with authentic ingredients, and one of the the best known Italian food would be the pizza.
The pizza?
Yes,
yeah.
That would be, I mean, all over the world, the pizza is known. It's very simple. It was actually made for the first time in Naples. And if you just think about the color of the pizza has the red tomato, then the mozzarella, which is the cheese, it's white.
Mozzarella.
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 Okay, sorry.
And then it would have the basil, which is green.
Right.
And when you actually think about these three colors represents the colors of the Italian flag.
Oh, you don't say. I didn't notice. So you have the red, the white, and the green.
And the green.
So the red is the tomato, as you mentioned.
Correct.
The green is the basil, and the white is the mozzarella.
The mozzarella. And this was specifically dedicated to Regina Margherita, and guess, it was called Pizza Margherita.
Oh, Pizza Margherita.
So whenever you go to an Italian restaurant and you order a Pizza Margherita, they will definitely present to you the pizza with the tomato, as I mentioned, and again the basil, and then there will be the mozzarella. So it's an historical thing. A very poor sort of, if you wish, food. People, especially from Naples, they would have the tomatoes. In every Italian family, you have the tomatoes. Basil, you go out in your own garden, you just pick 3-4 leaves. And the mozzarella, it wasn't that costly, so people could afford it. So a complete, I would say, meal was just a very simple, and you just had to put in the oven. Everybody had the oven in those days in order to prepare bread, and we have this special sort of food. Tonight, we have something totally different.
No pizza.
It's no pizza.
It's not pizza, yeah.
But something that would definitely remind us of the pizza. It's much simpler, and I know that some of the Chinese in general do not like or cannot digest easily the cheese.
Lactose intolerant.
Lactose intolerant. And there's one even simpler variation, which comes from my region, and my region is Puglia. And it's a very sort of poor sort of state region. Region would be the correct word. And therefore, the same ingredients with one exception. And the one exception would be without mozzarella. And we've had the chance of getting it from a local restaurant, wonderful Italian cuisine. I go there quite often. I might just tell you the name. It's the Forchetta.
Forchetta.
And this is Dempsey.
Right.
And let me just present this
Wow.
to
Well, if
the audience and to Mr. Khan.
this is my birthday, I don't know, I forgot how many meals is it. This is the one that, but it looks brilliant. I mean, it smells fantastic. Yeah. Italy cuisine. We have, this is the basil.
This is the basil
And the
as you can
tomato.
see, and the tomato.
But
No
this
cheese,
is the one without cheese. This is the one without cheese. So if you're lactose intolerant, you say, oh, I can't do Italian cuisine. But actually, in their cuisine, there are options that are without cheese.
Always there are options. And actually, from my region tonight, we have two little things. The focaccia will be one.
This is the focaccia. This is not called a pizza. It's called the.
Not pizza.
It's called the focaccia. Am I right?
Pronunciation is perfect,
Right.
so no problem for anybody
No
understanding.
problemo. No problemo.
Problema.
What
Nessun, nessun problema.
Nessun problema. Yeah.
In placing the order, and the Italian on the other side would know exactly what you mean. It's not a pizza. It's something poorer, but very, very delicious.
Right.
And of course, the extra virgin olive oil. Puglia is one of the places where we have plenty of olive trees, and therefore the production is very good with wonderful olive oil. There's another
May
small
I
thing.
first take a bite?
Please
Yeah,
go
okay,
ahead.
yeah.
And there's another little thing which is also very nice, and it's called, complicated the word, it's called taralli. And they're rounded. We will see them in a minute. But since I've been able to ask Mr. Khan, and he has agreed, come and let's go to Italy for a very short period, just a couple of days. Let's enjoy the food, the simple food Italians love, nothing complicated. And you will see later that the cold cuts. So we would actually have the focaccia, and we would have cold cuts, different cold cuts. We would have the cheese. We can't eliminate the cheese, so you will see the kind of cheese that I've been able to bring in. And then there's arancini. And the arancini is something really specific to the north, and we will be talking about Venice later. It's actually made with local rice. We have three great varieties of rice. And rice, it's used to make risotto, as possibly you have heard. And therefore, when the rice has a little bit of sauce, leftover sauce, and then we would have a little bit of cheese inside or cold cuts, all things that are leftover. They're all combined together. Then it's deep fried, but before it's deep fried, there are breadcrumbs around.
Wow.
Very nice, very beautiful. And definitely, if you happen to go to an Italian restaurant that serves arancini, very reminiscent of the word orange because of the shape. The arancini are usually rounded, and they actually mean small oranges.
Right. Would you like a slice of focaccia?
How can you say no?
It's very crunchy. It would really feel like pizza. I mean, for us, for Singaporeans, you might just feel that it's like pizza. But it's very tasty. I mean, when Mr. Pino was speaking, probably you heard the crunchy sounds that I was making. The texture is wonderful, and the basil and how the tomato comes together is just brilliant. This whole thing,
Again,
no cheese.
it's the way it's also been placed in the oven. It has to have a nice sort of crust around, which you actually eat, and underneath it has to be very well cooked. Try it. you never know, you might like it. Sometimes I do prefer the simplicity of focaccia. This is again focaccia, very simple, no cheese, extra virgin olive oil, fresh tomatoes, and basil, nothing else. And I love it. And I prefer it in many, many cases to a pizza. Yes?
Okay, let me just put this back here first. You know, the pizza that Singaporeans are more familiar with are the ones that has pineapples on it. It's just for the sake of since you are here and we are going to, and since we are traveling to Italy, for the record, it's pineapple pizza, Italian thing. Is it an Italian thing?
Okay, if we go to a pizzeria, and the pizzeria is the place where they only make a variety of pizza, and we ask for a pineapple pizza, they will look at us and they will think that we are crazy. And for two reasons. In Italy, we believe that the contrast of the pineapple versus the simplicity of the ingredient is just not a go. And second, we don't have pineapples, so it's absolutely impossible. The invention comes from America, if I'm not mistaken.
That's why they call it the Hawaiian pizza, I suppose.
The Hawaiian pizza.
So,
and it's a total transformation. It's not like eating chicken rice. Imagine if we in Italy try to make your chicken rice, we will never get it right. It's a tradition, it's culture, it's taste, it's the combination of the ingredients. It's actually a culinary experience. It's art, in my opinion.
So, true authentic Italian, I have to focaccia in my teeth, yeah. True authentic Italian food does not include Hawaiian pizza, does not include pizza with pineapple. Pineapples do not belong on the pizza. Am I right?
You're right. So don't ask and don't dare to ask because they would look you as somebody coming from Mars and say, what is this person looking for in Italy? And in the north, they might just smile at you, but in the south, sorry to say, they would possibly swear at you. And you would not be able to understand the words, but let me tell you, they are very vulgar.
Right, so when it comes to cuisine, then sometimes we realize that hopefully we have a chance to take a look at the rest of the cuisine later. But we might understand that what we know briefly about a culture or a cuisine, because we are quite distant from it, might be on a very superficial level. Yes. Right? Most people are exposed to Italian cuisine from two places in Singapore, Pizza Hut, and there's another one that school children always go, Pasta Mania. Pasta is Italian,
no.
right?
Oh no.
Oh please,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So they are not authentic Italian. They are, may I say, probably Americanized Italian, right? Adapted. So it's different. So through the food, we question, we actually have the chance to go back to what is and what was truly Italian. Like how we, in many episodes of Museum in Lotus, when we observe an artifact, when we observe an antique that's owned by Master Yun, beautiful collections, and from there we get a perspective closer to Master Yun's art world, not for sale nonetheless, but then we will get to see on the ground. I always like to say, go back in time, go back in history to know what was going on back then. We look at the Guan Yin, we look at those sculptures, and we get a better idea of how those civilizations lived and breathed. The same with the food, and of course, Mr. Pino today, not only did he brought the food, he brought a lot more other things here that's Italian, antique in nature as well. That will be amazing gifts or amazing adornments to this birthday.
How can you not link the Italian food with authentic Italian antiques? And in the collection of Master Yun, I was very surprised to find some beautiful pieces of furniture and beautiful. There's one particular item that is not anymore. Until you go to museum, you won't be able to find it, and that is from Venice.
Right.
And I will elaborate as we see the object, and I will tell you what I believe the object is, and why it's so valuable, and who was the artistic designer who actually drew the piece, which the Venetian blower were able to make, because it's a very complicated technique. And so far, if you happen to go to YouTube and try to find the technique which is called sommerso, which means submerged, you won't be able to find anything. And why is that? Because the Italian of Murano till this day are not prepared to reveal their secrets. So it's quite interesting, and no Venetian would actually open his or her mouth to third parties and tell of the secrets which from generation to generation are passed by families. And we have in Italy at this point in time, in the island of Murano, which is very close by to Venice. And Venice, just to give you an idea, is north and east. And we only have approximately 100 furnaces, some very important and some less important, but the quality is nevertheless.
How does one draw the map of Italy?
Well, you've become an expert, and I think you would be able.
Yeah, it looks like a boot, doesn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, because it's at the end of Europe. It's at the most south tip of Europe.
Correct.
So I remember that it goes down all the way, and then it looks like a boot over here.
Yes.
So just imagine that it's like a boot, they say. So very long stretch, I remember, and something like that, a boot.
Correct.
So we are talking about
here.
Somewhere here.
Approximately that is Venice. And we have to think that Venice is actually a lagoon made of many, many islands. And there are over 120, 130 bridges that would connect one place to the other. Extremely beautiful. It was extremely rich. Let me add just a little detail. It was a republic, an independent republic, for over 1,000 years. One of the oldest republic that I know in the world. The Serenissima was the government represented mostly by aristocrats and merchants. And the wealth of Venice in those days came mostly from, I would say, three sectors. One of the exchange of goods. The second one came from the building of boats, ships, both for transportation, military transportation, and the other one was to support the merchant activity. And you won't believe it, the third one was linked to the making of glass. And as I mentioned just earlier, the secret regarding the making of the glass is still
a secret.
Look, can you imagine?
Before we go on to the glass, which I think the more I listen, the more it's very interesting. I mean, see some pieces right in front of us. If you notice, other than the food, of course, that the chairs, do I call it chairs? They're chairs, right?
I mean, these chairs, if I can just start, they are sublime.
Then these chairs here we are sitting on today to present tonight's museum in Lotus, they're different. They're not the Qing Dynasty chairs that we often sit on, which we have introduced. They're amazing as well. But I'm sticking and blocking the entire thing. But you know, this is a chair that you can just lay a little bit back and put it and read a good book, that kind of chair.
Extremely comfortable to sit on. They're actually Qing period. So in other words, we're talking about the same period of the beautiful northern hat chairs, very interesting, that we usually sit, equally very comfortable. It's a different comfort, but both pairs very comfortable.
Which means that the Qing Dynasty chairs 1800 plus.
Yes.
That we usually sit on. You are saying that this pair of chairs that we are sitting on now, they belong to the same age, but of course not made in China, but
in Italy.
Made in Italy. This pair of chairs that we are on, 1800s and made in Italy. So this is part of the thing that Mr. Pino, you have brought to me on my birthday.
Correct.
Yes.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, they actually, in terms of style, refer to Louis XV. And Louis XV is the king in France who basically was the monarch between early 1700, 1714, if I'm not mistaken, to almost the end of the 1700s. Italy at the time, and also because we share borders with France, we actually were very much influenced. So I can imagine the aristocratic family being interested in beauty and considering the Louis XV furniture extremely valuable, asked the artisans in Italy to basically replicate them about 150 years later.
So which means that they were Louis XV's inspired.
Inspired.
The style of these chairs that we are having, we will stand up and take a look at them later. Super comfortable, very elegant and sublime as well. Inspired by France, Louis XV, 1715 to 1774.
Yes.
But adapted into Italian arts and culture. Yeah.
Yes.
About 100, 150 years later, they made these chairs.
Yes. So they were inspired, and you can still recognize some aspect of this pair of chairs, which is very Italian. Okay, in my modest opinion, they could have come as a pair, and that's it. But it's possible that also this pair came with a sofa and maybe a few other chairs.
A whole set.
The whole set.
The whole set. Well, shall we let everyone take a look at how, because we have been occupying the chair for quite some time, probably we let everyone take a look at how the chairs are.
Yes.
And they can appreciate it better.
And I will discreetly give you an explanation. Discreetly means I will not go too much in detail. It can be boring, but let's have an overall look.
Right.
And let's appreciate the most that we can.
Well, let's take a look. Yeah. So this is what we have. The 1800s, these chairs were...
I would say early 1800s.
Right.
So, I hope you can see, but it's not 100% clear. Let's look at the legs. They're cabriolet. What does cabriolet mean? Imagine a leg that has the knee protruding, and then as it gets to the ankle, it's basically, it recessed.
I see.
And then at the end, you will be able to see a beautiful foot. Let me see if I can be of any help in lifting it.
Oh my God, yeah.
So you can you see?
Whoa.
So this is the way that the chair looks.
I see.
Now,
see.
When,
yes.
Okay.
There we have it. This whole thing here. There we have it.
So the knee is protruding forward, and the anklet is just recessing, and then you will see at the end
very
the foot.
Elegantly done.
Very, very elegantly done. Now, what do we see? Again, we see the armrest.
Yes.
And when we see the armrest, we see one part which is in the middle, which is padded, and this is called horn, the ram horn, the finishing.
Right.
And it's basically linked to the base, and it gets into the back. Now, when we look at the back, it looks like an oval. And when I look at the back, imagine a mirror, an oval mirror. But in this case, it's just the back. And the back is slightly leans backwards. And again,
Right.
this is for comfort. It's all padded, beautifully padded. At the center, we see what we call a palmette. And on the side, we see foliages and acanthus. Again, another flower, another leaf. Interestingly enough, when we see the seat, it's very large in the front, and as it goes back, it recesses. How was this made? It was made out of wood, I would say soft wood, easy to carve, piece by piece, then assembled. And then we've already spoken in the past about the gesso technique.
Right.
Very simple. You would have a sort of a plaster kind of material and glue. Then water would be added. It would be a sort of a cream that would cover with a brush the wooden parts. The gesso technique goes back at least 200 or 300 years. After this was done, then it would be covered by the so-called gilding.
Yes.
And the gold gilding would be of different quality. It could be 24 carats or less. It really depends on what the aristocrat wanted to achieve.
Did this pair had gold gilding in the past?
Yes.
So we are actually looking at a pair of these chairs about 150 plus minus years from now, before now.
Yes.
That nicely done, super elegant. And Mr. Pino is saying that all these parts, they used to be shining with gold.
Yes.
Gold gilded.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, as was just mentioning, I happened now to see if, because of the use and people putting their hands here, you would see actually the white. And the white means that all the gilding has come off.
Right.
And you actually see the gesso. Gesso is spelled G-E-S-S-O. Now, extremely comfortable. When you look at the seat, the base of the seat is basically iron coil, and it was covered, not to hurt, of course, with natural padding. And on top of that, there is this amazing kind of silk. I believe that this is not the original one. This, at one point in time, was reupholstered. I believe this was possibly in the 50s or slightly earlier than that. And the most amazing silk fabric, Italian made, was utilized. They're in perfect condition, apart little chips here and there, which would reveal that the gesso is underneath.
Right.
Other than this, let me tell you, cannot be more elegant than what they are.
Well, we can definitely imagine with the exuberance, with the details, and how the curves, and we really need to imagine that all this used to be gold.
Yes.
That this pair of chairs, or probably the whole set of furniture that comes along with it, would have belonged to someone astonishing and mega in Italy, 1800s. You know,
Yes.
a family or maybe even aristocrats, because it's gold. It's a golden chair.
And I can't rule out that this chair might have come from Venice. Imagine in those beautiful household of very rich aristocrat, this would be part of the ensemble of other furniture. Amazing, just amazing. Go back with the time, and go back with the luxury and the aristocrats sitting down and enjoying one evening. Very beautiful, very elegant, in very good condition, I would say. There's no major defect, which again is a rarity if you consider that they are between 150 to 200 years old. If you have the time, I would strongly suggest, with a lot of attention, come, take a look, sit down, and make sure that you also have that pleasantness of the feel of sitting on a chair that has, again, all this
The more you say about it, the more I don't feel like standing up from this chair. Yeah,
that's the
really,
reason we're actually going back and enjoying.
Already, yes, already. I mean, when I sat down, the feel is definitely different from how it was the Beijing and the China chairs. You know,
Correct.
Those are a bit more rigid, but it serves the good purpose as well. Yes. It gives you a good. These are the really comfy ones. It's like an armchair. It's like a you know, it would have been belonged to probably a what do you call that? Like not the dining area, but maybe the room after the dining area.
Yes.
Then you are there and you have some good cheese and you have some a good cigar, that kind of feel that makes you relax, that makes you feel so comfy. And at the same time, when there's comfort in these chairs, again, I have to ask you to imagine there is a lot of prosperity. Gold.
Lots
Food, these chairs were supposed to be full of gold. So much prosperity and so much comfort in these chairs. Am I right? Yeah.
I think you are right, and I've made a supposition, which can be wrong, that this possibly come from a palace, an important palace in Venice. Now, when we think about Venice, Venice has been, for over a millennium, 1,000 years, an independent republic in Italy. And at one point, and that was at the height of the richness and prosperity of the country, around maybe the 1700s, imagine, it was so prosperous that three were the main activities of the Republic. And the Republic was governed by what we call La Serenissima. And the parliament, if you wish, was a commission made by aristocrats and merchants. And the merchants were those who traded, those who had the requirement of building, as we say, the ships. So the shipyard was one of the most important activity. They used to make ships for the army, and not only for the army, for the Republic, but also they used to get orders. And when you consider the position of Venice, as I mentioned, northeast, then Croatia, Montenegro, and all of this country, down to Greece and up to Cyprus, were all very strongly influenced by Venice. And if you actually go to these countries, you will see that the symbolism of Venice, the symbol representing, which is il leone, the lion.
The lion.
The lion.
The lion.
The lion. So look at how many countries last week we indicated having the lion as the main symbol. Singapore.
Singapore, we mentioned Singapore for sure. We were talking about Tibet. They have the snow lion.
We have the snow lion.
We have the snow lion. When we were doing the pillar, like the Kerala lamb, there is also the lion on the top.
On the top,
yeah,
correct.
Which represents the Raja power.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of lions. Some of the lands are connected. Some of the lands are not exactly connected.
Yes.
So even Venice, which this pair of chairs might have come about, their city symbol, state symbol, was a lion.
Was the lion. And in all this country, at one point in time, if I'm not mistaken, there were 7 current countries under the domination of Venice. And Venice was so rich. Their commerces with Asia, with the Mediterranean country was very prosperous, and that's where all the richness came from, together with what I've indicated, the production of the shipyards. But there was another important sector, and that sector is related to glass making.
Right.
Now, glass making goes back to the Romans. And what we have to mention that after the decline of the Roman Empire, this is when the Republic of Venice started. Around the end of the 647, 650. This is after the birth of Christ, and it lasted until 1470s approximately. I'm not exactly, but approximately 1,000 years. 1,000 years of prosperity. Prosperity that you can see along Il Canale Grande, the Grand Canal, the beautiful building. Now, many very rich people own those buildings and the state. And it's a treat just to enter and have one evening having a dinner there, which is still possible, and enjoying a beautiful, what we call tè, which is tea.
Interesting.
And we can also have an Italian aperitif. And it's such an atmosphere. And when we go back to the period, the sort of enjoyment ladies and gentlemen used to have. Now, when I think about the glass making was a secret. Imagine, and initially the glass making was in Venice, but then it all stopped, and it stopped around 1270 or around that period, and the Serenissima, which was basically the government of Venice, moved all the furnaces in the small island nearby called Murano.
Right.
Murano. And why was that? Why they pushed the people involved in making glasses to this small island? They say that because the construction of the building was mainly made in wood, they were very frightened about exposing the houses and the buildings to the furnaces, because we have to also understand what are the ingredients of making glass. And the most important one, it's not the only one, but it's the most important one, is sand. It's liquefied sand with other two chemicals easily available in that time, and it creates this liquid, and the liquid is actually the glass, which then would be blown and molded to create the many objects that we will show you and are still available. Again, there are 100 furnaces in Murano.
So this is how you spell Murano, am I right?
Yes.
M-U-R-A-N-O, Murano. There we have, that means that Venice, this rich state and city, we have these chairs which are amazing, and we also have these various glasswares. There are amazing art pieces, exports of Murano as well.
Art pieces, you've said it. Impossible nowadays to find this wonderful objects.
Which should we take a look first? Because there are a few. It doesn't include this Laurent Perry bottle. No. This is just Laurent Perry bottle, not this. Yeah, but all the other pieces that are in front of us, some of them are Murano. Am I right?
There are actually 3 pieces of Murano.
3 pieces of Murano
that I can see here, and one is not Murano. But
okay.
Let me tell you one thing which makes me laugh. The reason why Venice pushed into Murano the furnaces was also to reference to something a little bit more peculiar. They were very, very frightened about the secrets going out, to the point that if any glassmaker would leave Murano and he would not return over the period of time that he had mentioned, the family would actually be arrested.
It's like hostage then.
Hostage. You're absolutely
It's
right.
a
and
hostage
this is
thing.
the perfect word that represents hostage. And consequence would flow to the family if after the arrest, the person would not come back. After that, after a period of time, if again this person had not returned, an assassin would be sent out in order to find and actually kill that person, just because he was suspected to reveal the ways glass was made.
Which means, let me just get this clear.
Yes.
Can we be sure that this piece of you is a Murano glass?
Absolutely.
This piece in front of me is a Murano glass.
It's a Murano glass.
May I just show them a little bit first? The secret you mentioned, the craftsman with all the secret and skills to making an item like an art piece like this,
yes,
is so serious that they will keep the entire family on the island. If you go out as a craftsman and you don't return, your family will be persecuted. And
absolutely,
the person who escaped the city might be assassinated.
Might be assassinated without any doubt.
So we are looking at a piece of art that, I mean, there's a little bit age to it. It's not too old. It's about 1940s and 50s.
Yes.
So it's something that belonged to the last century, probably about like 70, 80 years old now. But we can imagine how precious it was. It is actually to Italy.
Very precious, but let's also remember few of the names, important names of dignitaries and kings that used to collect Murano glasses.
Okay.
For instance, Henry VIII from England.
Henry VIII?
Yes.
Everyone knows Henry VIII, yeah. Henry VIII with lots of wives, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Henry VIII, who actually created the Church of England because he wanted to marry,
yes,
he wanted to divorce his Spanish wife, that Henry VIII?
Yes.
Yes, I got a Henry VIII, yeah.
That's the one.
So the King of England, Henry VIII, the father of Queen Elizabeth I, is also an owner of such Murano glassware.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, throughout the aristocracy, when you imagine, you see this beautiful setting of plates, many made in the country, but if they wanted to have glass, they had to come to Italy and order the setting of the glasses, and they used to have at least 6 or 7 for different kind of wine, port, or whatever that is, water, and that used to come exclusively from Murano.
I just want to be, I'm just curious. So Murano produced and still producing such amazing glassware.
Yes.
Back in those days, were there any other places in Europe that created glassware?
I don't think so.
Not even glassware.
No.
That means that if they want to have glassware, they would have to go to Italy
Absolutely.
and Murano actually.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
which means that if you want an authentic piece of pizza, do not, no, I can't say that. If not, they will sue me. Yeah. Hawaiian pizza, it's not the path to go, right? You have to go to where the sauce is for an authentic piece of glassware.
Absolutely.
Right, am I right? Yeah, that would be a better way to say
absolutely,
it, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
But I see the smaller ones. Shall we take a look at the big one?
Before we go to the big one, which is the most important of this collection, I would just like to show you what this is. Now, what is very special about this piece, and actually about the pieces that we have here, if you see here, you get a glimpse of the orange-red color.
Yes.
Now, let me turn it around. What color do you see here?
Pure white.
Pure white. So the sommesso, which is the submerged, is a combination, which again, even as today, YouTube would not show us how this was made. Now, the sommerso technique goes back to early 20th century. And it was a discovery by which the glass maker started to experiment. And actually, they applied one layer of glass of a certain color with another of a contrasting color. And the two different colors would not basically merge. They would remain distinct, but the effects, the iridescence would be amazing.
Right.
This is somewhat a sort of a leaf or a shell in perfect condition, dating back, in my opinion, 1950s. Again, in perfect condition, as it was considered a very important piece at the time. It only has minor scratches on the back, minor. Unfortunately, we don't have here neither the signature of the maker, neither we have the furnace that produced this wonderful piece. Please come, enjoy what you see around you, but do have the chance of looking at this beautiful object, a piece of art that will go back after a little while to Master Yoon's collection.
Yes, yes, this piece is stunning. The color is most amazing. Shall I lift up the heavy one?
I leave that to you
Because I keep on seeing it
it's a
there.
mega
We have one here, so I will just put this here,
Yes.
and I will lift up the heavy. I'll try to lift up the heavy one, and I'll put it here. We can see the magnificence of what Murano makers they actually did. Actually,
Correct.
right?
And this would be a piece I've lifted myself.
It's very heavy.
Very heavy.
Good God, yeah.
Very, very heavy.
Can I
It
even
would
handle?
be definitely above, I would say, about 12 to 15 kilos. Okay. Now, this is again another sommerso. But before we explain the technique, we have to mention two things. And the two things that I need to mention is that we actually have, and we're very fortunate because through the maker, we can even go back to the designer, not the glass maker, because it became such an important activity that the most famous architects of the 50s started to draw for important furnaces in Murano. In this case, the maker is Seguso Vetri d'Arte. Now, this company, you won't believe it, has been in existence since 14th century. 1397, to just be precise. An amazing maker. And can you imagine the sort of export which supported not only the well-being of the company, but actually it supported the Serenissima, and that is the Republic of Venice.
And where did they sell all this glassware to? The rest of Europe?
Rest of Europe, but you won't believe it what happened. After the sommerso technique,
Vetri d'Arte?
Vetri d'Arte.
D'Arte, yeah? Seguso Vetri d'Arte.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Vetri d'Arte. So, as you know, Vetri means glass. Arte is art. So, Seguso is the name of the maker.
Right.
And Vetri is the glass and artistic glass.
Right. So this is stunning. I mean, I'm curious. Did it ever happen that they sold it to China?
Can I say, it's a very good question. I don't know how much it has been investigated. For sure, there are papers that would tell us who actually were the purchaser, and these dignitaries I mentioned earlier, and kings. With regards to this particular piece, I need to actually mention the artistic director. This is the late Flavio Poli. Now, this is a genius together with, in those periods, at least another 3 or 4 glassmaker. He's an artistic designer, he's not a glassmaker. And what he did, he experimented continuously for over 25 years with the company, different technique, advancing the sommerso technique, adding gold in the production. In this very case, just going back to the base, if you see there's a transparent inner section,
Yes.
which is actually blown and molded by the glassmaker. And then the outside would be a sort of beautiful ochre mustard color.
Right.
I have examined this piece very, very careful. I'm very intrigued by a piece like this. This is actually, as I've already mentioned, and forgive me about the repetition, this is a piece which should be in a museum. Now, let me tell you the 3 most important museums that have been collecting Murano glass pieces. The Met in New York.
Yes.
And then we have the Victoria and Albert Museum, and also the Gallery of Australia has collected these pieces. Imagine the time it has taken and the weight in moving around with a rapidity that you can't even imagine. And this was a master glassmaker. The movement and the velocity, he had to turn around and make this beautiful object that resembles the body, very simple body of a wonderful woman.
Indeed, indeed. Very much, yeah.
But just to make it easy, it also resembles the hourglass. But the first interpretation, I think it would be the correct one.
Yes.
This guy was a genius in his own right. And again, inventing, experimenting, inventing and experimenting. And when the American discovered the beauty of the Murano, a lot of the production has gone to the United States. Very beautiful. Another important glass making furnace is Venini. And again, the founder was Paolo Venini. Again, there's Cenedese, another important furnace, Barro Virentoso, and I can go on and on and on. But the fact that these are renowned names, internationally respected and appreciated, doesn't mean that the production of our other glassmaker is inferior, not at all. I actually believe that this is a minor and less known furnace, but the beauty, I think it also
Very
incorporates,
artistic, yeah.
if it also incorporates a little bit of gold. So under the light, it's totally different. You take away the light, it takes a different connotation. And let me tell you, even this small piece, it would be at least 1.5 to 2 kilos.
It is very substantial. I mean, the pieces, one thing, but you know, it's. I'm not going to allow you to come here to actually lift it or what, but it's just, it's substantial enough, really, and of course artistic as well. So what we know is that these chairs and these glasswares, these Murano glasswares, art pieces for sure, produced of Italy.
Absolutely, yes.
Exports of Italy. Some of them might have actually gone all the way to China, maybe, because back in the days they were all trading with each other. And this is just amazing sets of precious and valuable items that we have.
And I tend to agree with you going to China, and especially Shanghai, when Art Deco was so popular that reached China very fast. And again, they wanted to have something exquisite, different, with a sort of European taste. And many of the lamps in the old hotels are actually Murano.
Right.
No doubt about this. Let me add a little thing. The Italian ambassadors abroad, the only glasses that they can use when they entertain their fellow ambassadors or important dignitaries are Venetian glasses. It's the recognition of the highest point in manufacturing in Italy.
Which means that we are actually looking at a representative or an epitome of the Italian culture here. So hopefully after today, what we remember about Italy is not just pizza, and definitely not pizza with a pineapple, but
No,
also this amazing set of chairs that used to be gold gilded, golden chairs I might say, and this amazing, amazing, substantial and beautiful Murano glassware, art
Yes.
pieces.
Now, what do you think this was possibly used for? Just to display? As I mentioned, I have examined the piece very thoroughly with a magnifying glass, discovering one little element that has told me what it was used for. If you look at the base, there's a circular hole, and that has been the starting of a doubt that has brought me to a conclusion. The conclusion is very simple. Through the top, wires would go to the circular bottom hole.
Right.
And therefore, at the top, you would have the system in order to have a bulb, and the wires would go through the body of the object, come out from the bottom hole, and therefore this was used, or it was meant to be a lamp.
Ah, I see. Okay.
There's no scratch, there's nothing, which brings me also to the hypothesis that although it was made for a specific use, the person who bought never used it as a lamp. And I think it's right not to use as a lamp. It's too much of a beautiful object.
Right. 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 Well, I'm not sure how long we're going to keep this in the gallery because number one, it's still glass, dangerous, but really a great beauty. And I'm sure we can see the connection of this and the amazing chairs with Master art. Because a lot of times when we think about Master art and art, oh, we know the surface and what feng shui painting is about. But if you really go and understand, it's not just that common thing that we know. Because when we talk about Italy, as I mentioned just now, a lot of people think of pizza, yes, pasta, and then we have pineapples on pizza, which is wrong, right? And feng shui painting, sometimes when we talk about, hey, do you know about feng shui art? A lot of people are like, oh, feng shui art, you draw 2 fishes, that's feng shui art. You draw 8 horses, that's feng shui art. But if you go deeper, and if you go closer, then maybe you will get to know more. Because we already know after so many episodes that it's not that case. That's cranes, that's peacocks. And also when you go to that level, just like what we see on these chairs, these beautiful chairs here, they can be gold and silver. There can be great substantial art involved, great masterpieces, master skills that, that go to the extent that they have the hostage entire family. And that is what we see when we go to the true form and true essence. Hopefully today, through the beautiful and amazing Italian cuisine and Mr. Pino's description of this pair of chairs and the glassware, we get a step closer into what Italian culture means. It's not just about mafia. It's not just about Hawaiian pizza. It's a lot more. And it's a glorious culture that has amazing cities and has amazing produce as such. Just like how we delve deep into mastering art, and we'll realize that actually feng shui art or even Chinese culture is not as plain or as simple as we thought it might be. Challenge yourself. What you think you know might not be the true essence, right? And through this episode, by looking at the real stuff, then we will know that, now I know a little bit more about Italy, a little bit more about Maastricht's art. Am I right? Yeah.
Actually, when I came in tonight and there was this wonderful setting, immediately I said, how come there's this beautiful blending? And we're talking about chairs dating back 150, maybe even more, and what is a contemporary painting, which a totally different thought behind, process behind. What makes these pieces talk to each other? And I only came with one simple conclusion: there's beauty. There's a flow of beauty that Master Yun is able to capture and transfer to us for a greater height in many, many ways. And also the stimulating beauty that we see in this object tonight, Italian object, which bring the two cultures very close one to the other. And that is the amazing aspect. Families in Italy, and I've been in this country for 22 years, and I see the structure of the Chinese family, not much difference.
Yes, very much. Right, okay, we would have to choose the people who actually answered correctly the questions on National Day.
Yes.
And we will have to ask a question, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a rather simple question. Simpler question.
Simple.
Today we are not in Tibet. Today we are not in Nepal. We are not in India. We are not in China. We have gone all the way to somewhere because it's my birthday, and Mr. Pino has decided to take me to where he's from. And we have the chance. That's why we have the chance to look at this amazing Murano glassware, this amazing pair of chairs that might be from Venice, and also, of course, not Hawaiian pizza, not pineapples on pizza, something else. We did have the chance to show the cold cuts, but I tell you, they're amazing. There's such a variety of them. You look at them, you say that they're all cold cuts. No, actually, I tell you, when you're trying to pronounce the name, you will die. You will die trying to pronounce every single of their name. Am I right? Yeah. So there's a great variety here. Which country are all this from? Simple. Which country are all these amazing things from that Mr. Pino has brought me away from Asia tonight, to go over there? Where have we gone to today? Simple, yeah.
And it doesn't have cheese.
And this doesn't have cheese, yeah. The cheese is actually here,
Yes,
yeah,
the cheese is actually on the other side. We've separated the cheese.
Yeah. So just trouble you to actually choose three.
Yes.
Tre. Yeah. Trying to learn Italian now, yeah.
Should.
Yeah. Number one, we have Madam Ong. Congratulations.
Congratulations, all the very best.
Yes. Number two, we have, let's see, Gang Wai Kyung. These are my our clients, Tang Wai Kyung. Congratulations.
Congratulations and prosperity to you and your family.
And we have Mei Li. Yes, we have Mei Li, Tang Wai Kyung.
Congratulations, Mei.
And Madam Ong, Tang Wai Kyung, and Mei Li, right? So this is the three people that won today. That's amazing. I hope
the
really
very best.
From this episode we will get to know more. You will get to know more about Italy. You will get to know more, challenge your concept of what Italy is all about. And then with the same concept, go and look at feng shui arts, feng shui painting, and feng shui calligraphy. And actually, they are not as basic as what you think it is. There is a deeper culture, there is a deeper level, and they are essence of gold and pure art form in both Maastricht's art and the Italian culture. Thank you very much, Mr. Pino.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the focaccia. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Because if you do a whole thing with cheese, probably by then you'll be too stuffed out. But this is amazing, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll see you next Tuesday again on Museum in Lotus. We are going to somewhere else. You'll find out next Tuesday. Cheers.
Cheers.